He was mayor of New York City 17 years ago, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, I remember 17 years ago, as we woke up 7 o'clock in the morning, it was primary day in New York City.
It was. It was primary day. We had to suspend the primary. Governor Pataki did it about 11 o'clock in the morning. About this time, I was headed to the Peninsula Hotel to have breakfast.
Right.
And I was finishing breakfast, and somebody walked in and said, a police officer walked in, Patty Verone, and she said to my counsel, Denny Young, that a twin-engine plane had hit the North Tower. And he said, Mayor, it's a bad fire. That's what she says. We better get down there right away. And as we left, Bill Simon, who was a former assistant of mine who ran for governor of California a couple of years ago, Bill grabbed me and said, God bless you. And I said, oh, okay. But I thought it was another New York City tragedy.
Yeah, an accident.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got about three-quarters of the way there that I got a call from Bernie Carrick. And Bernie said, Mayor, a second plane just hit. I said, oh, God, that explosion was a second plane? He said, yeah, second plane.
In this video right here, what's going through your mind? Do you remember?
What's going through my mind is exactly what Peter Gansey told me. Get these people north. Get them the hell out of here, Peter said. And that happened when I was down by I walked down to where the tower was. He was directing...
You're heading south, aren't you?
I'm heading north now. I was heading south. Originally,
toward the sun.
I went south. And Pete said to me, get these people to go north. They were all clustering here. They were remaining. When they came out of the building, about a third of them were remaining, and they were watching. But they were hindering the fire trucks from getting in. And then eventually the ambulances. So Pete says, get them the hell out of here. Get me the cops and get them out of here. So as soon as I got out of the building, we were trapped in for about 20 minutes. Bernie and I and three of my deputy mayors, Denny. I said exactly what he said. I started yelling at people, go north, go north. And then I got on television with a CBS reporter, and I said, everybody better go north.
Yeah.
Right. Now, does it make it easier that the downtown has been virtually rebuilt? Does it make it easier that we can go in and see the museum and the footprints?
Yes. It's actually a wonderful story if you think about it, right? I struggled for about 3 months, 4 months trying to bring people back. Mike Bloomberg did for about a year, bringing people back. More than twice as many people down there now than on the day of September 11, 2001. More than 4 times as many businesses. It's become one of our centers now. I mean, that's one of the great places to go, not just to see the museum, but to see the wonderful Brookfield Center and a whole bunch of the other things that are there.
Mayor, as we were looking at some of those images, and if, Mark, if you could re-rack some of those pictures of Rudy walking through the streets, you had in your hand one of those little paper masks. That a lot of people were circulating. Now, 17 years later, we know that all that dust was toxic. 10,000 people have been diagnosed with cancer. The terrorists killed 3,000, and ultimately, cancer may kill thousands more. Are you worried today that you might have breathed some really bad stuff?
You notice I wasn't wearing a mask there with the president, and I was wearing a mask here, but I was holding it.
Yeah.
I think you can see Hillary Clinton to my left, your right, who was wearing a mask. I mean, people. No, we did not realize it was as bad as it was. We were told by the EPA that it was.
It was safe.
Well, not safe, but it wasn't toxic. In other words,
man, were they wrong?
You could get congestion. I actually, halfway through, had a nasal lavage, because I couldn't breathe. Now, I was there probably average 2 hours a day until December.
Are you worried?
No. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not. I haven't had any conditions. You know, you have that. You have PTSD, a certain number of the firefighters and police officers, particularly since it was in some ways even more stressful for them than maybe even a war would be, because they were looking for their sons, their brothers, their best friends, their uncles. One of the psychiatrists who was an expert on PTSD said it's the same thing as a very quick battle, but a devastating one. He said, how many battles in the history of America have we lost 3,000 people?
Oh, you don't wear camouflage.
Less in Pearl Harbor.
You know, I was a local reporter in South Carolina. There was a group from an elementary school. They raised enough money to replace one of the firefighters, one of the fire trucks. And we came up, a lot of local news reporters came up with this group on the governor's plane, actually. And it was so cool to see the country coming together and unite. And this is the first time I met you. We were on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade float, on your float. You invited those kids to come on the float. They were so touched by that. And we got to meet the firefighters that received the new fire truck. And Joe Torre was on the float with you.
And it started raining that day.
And it started raining that day. No one cared. But it's so interesting how far our country has come. What have we learned since that day?
What you just said, Ainsley, is how we got through. First couple of days were just gruesome. The realization that we lost that many people, the realization we weren't going to discover bodies,
well, everyone at a hospital waiting for
that was a shock. That was an absolute shock to me. I thought the first day we were going to save a lot of people. I mean, we ended up saving whatever we saved in those first couple hours. That was it. But the people coming forward throughout the United States, throughout the world, that is a particularly memorable experience that you're talking about, because it was kids. But it happened with firefighters from Chicago and Philadelphia and Florida and Texas. It happened with school classes all over the country. It happened with a bunch of Canadians, 25,000 coming to New York in November.
Really?
Canada to New York, Canada to help New York. So that got you through. That said to you, oh my gosh, we have a whole country behind us, if not a lot of decent people throughout the world.
So it's not over. If you go to London, you see people getting run over in London just because they're walking on the sidewalk. You see the random stabbings in Belgium and France. You see ISIS came up and has been dispersed since. And in Afghanistan, big story, how we're really not making much progress. Others would point out that if we take our eye off the ball in Afghanistan, we could expect more buildings to fall here in America.
Well, I think, I subscribe to that. I think President Bush said it correctly a couple weeks later when he addressed Congress, and the governor and I were invited to it. He said there's going to be a long war. This is going to be a very long war because these people have maintained this extreme ideology for centuries. I'm not talking about all Muslims. I'm talking about the ones who do this, who are in my view, somewhat insane, although not excusably insane. They know what they're doing. So we're going to have to fight it for a long time. And I think President Trump has done a really excellent job of keeping it contained about as well as he's going to keep it contained. I hate to say it because, well, I'm not superstitious, but I guess maybe I am. I hate to say it, but we've been pretty darn safe the last year or two.
Yemen, Somalia.
But we got troubles around the world. And I remember one special forces guy that I met through Tunnel to Towers, who has no legs, and is having a home built for him by Tunnel to Towers. And he told me, I said, how did you get through it, the whole thing, even before this happened to you? He did 4 tours until that happened. And he said, I get through it because I know that I'm keeping everybody safe.
Because they looked in the eyes of the people
I know, it's very simple. I said, a lot of these intellectuals don't get it. It's real simple. If we're fighting them there, we're not fighting them here. Everyone we're engaging there ain't coming here. And I'm keeping a mother alive, a son alive.
But, Mr. Mayor, it was because they saw the evil up close. It's not something those people burned alive, but the people that they spawned and the philosophy that they have exists.
And they're wonderful to go around. I really try to recommend to the military, and my firefighters and police officers who face this, to go around to schools so the next generation knows it. And I know, people say, well, people don't remember. Maybe I see the other side of it. People come up to me all over the country and still remember. The most often thing said to me is, please thank your firefighters for me. Because it's the people who either were in the building and came down or had relatives or friends who came down and they said, gosh, it was amazing to see those firefighters running up the building. Now, all those firefighters are in heaven now. They're not here with us. But that's the reason all those people are alive, because they wouldn't give up ground.
They kept going back in.
Yeah, even when they heard some of them evacuate. To a firefighter, I tried to explain this to the commission. To a firefighter, if they got an order here, evacuate, it meant everybody off the floor. Then I evacuate.
Right.
So the ones that got caught were the ones whose floor was empty. They came down. Right. But the ones who weren't, they waited.
All right. Wow. Rudy Giuliani, thank you very much for remembering what happened in this town.
And thank you for your wonderful coverage of it back when it happened. It was very, very helpful to have television covering it in a very thoughtful way.
And it's helpful so that we never forget what happened,
absolutely.
so that it never happens again.
For what, we're not talking about attorneys or anything else. So that's for another time.
No Mueller investigation
No Mueller
right now.
investigation. Just
Oh, is there? What is that?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.